My name is Peter Davison. I played the Fifth Doctor, and you're listening to the Fiveish Fangirls.
The tangents we continue all the way to episode 418 of the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. Should both races suffer because of the sins of their forefathers? Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. So glad you could join us. Let's start off like we do every week by the virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Crissy in Salt Lake City.
This is Sally from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, everybody. A belated Happy Mother's Day to
Yes.
all those moms and mom figures out there.
Mm-hmm.
As we're recording this, it's the day after, so hope
Yes.
you had a good day, and that your families and whoever else spoiled you rotten.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you were graduating from Indiana University, in that case, congratulations.
Yes.
Well, there you go.
It's
That's
always
important.
It's always Mother's Day weekend.
That is so random.
Yeah. So yeah. I graduated twice, and both times it was always Mother's Day weekend, so we'd have to do a combined graduation Mother's Day meal somewhere.
I mean, you go into the grocery store and it's all like moms, dads, and grads, and give them gifts, gift cards, and whatever else.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's
just
that time
sometimes
of year,
the moms and grads overlap just a bit too much.
just a bit, but it's okay. We love them
Yeah.
all anyway.
All right, so a little bit of news. We got PopCon making some more guest announcements, specifically for Louisville, which is coming up really, really quickly, a month from tomorrow, actually, as we're recording this. So, but they have announced Ross Marquand, who, if you're a fan of The Walking Dead, you probably know him, but he took up the mantle of playing Red Skull in the MCU. So that is kind of cool.
That's happening.
Yep. That should be fun. I'll have more information about Louisville as we get closer. I know like they've released like the panel schedule, and the 2 panels I submitted are in there, but this far out I don't trust that the schedule is going to stay locked in the way it is. So I will probably make some sort of announcement of when panels are, probably right before when it's most likely to stay the way it is. So just because things can happen, people can leave, people have to cancel, and new people come in, and blah, blah, blah. That's a whole thing that I'm glad I do not have to be part of, trying to juggle all those balls and spin all those plates.
Yep.
Meanwhile, in fandom world, we got an announcement for when we're getting season 2 of Good Omens.
Woohoo!
Which, yeah, eventually they did start putting it properly out there, but those of us that were hitting refresh on YouTube last week on the Hillywood channel, being like, okay, it's the 10th. They said that the Good Omens parody was coming out on the 10th. Where's that parody? Where is it? And then finally, there it was. And I'm like, so you had to watch the Hollywood Good Omens parody all the way through, because they were the ones to break the news the Good Omens season 2 is arriving July 28th. So that is very exciting. So
Woohoo!
And you should just go watch their parody anyway, because their parodies are always so good.
Yes.
They put every ounce of effort into it with all the stuff that goes into, the music and the lyrics and the costumes and the special effects and all this stuff. And then there's some very fun cameos that appear in the video as well. So it's pretty awesome. So, but yes, all of the Good Omens fans can finally, like, take a deep breath for a moment, because now we know when it is coming. So David Tennant's gonna be very busy this summer.
Sounds like it.
So, because on top of him having to promote Good Omens season 2, he's also going to be on the hook for promoting his Doctor Who specials that are coming later this year. And we got the titles for the 3 specials and a bit more footage for each. So so special number 1 is called The Star Beast, which immediately makes me think of the space whale.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's a connection at all. But the 11 Amy episode with Elizabeth, what was she, Elizabeth the 10th, 11th, something like that?
Yeah.
Liz 10.
Like
That's what she was.
Yeah.
Liz 10.
She was awesome. I wish she'd been in it more, but
Yeah.
I liked her.
Yeah. So The Beast Below, that's what that was called. So so there's that one. And then special 2, which is all the redacted backwards stuff we've been getting. It's called Wild Blue Yonder. And then special 3 is called and the special 3 is
the Air Force. Anthem, theme song, whatever it is you call it.
And then special 3, which presumably will be the one with Neil Patrick Harris, is called The Giggle. And at this point, if Neil Patrick Harris is not
the Celestial Toymaker,
the Celestial Toymaker, I'm eating my hat.
You and me both.
So
it's like, come on, it's he's telegraphing it way too, like it's going to be that. So I'm hoping. I don't know if like like if Russell T Davies is just maybe hoping that maybe people forgot that was a character all the way back. You gotta go really far back to get to the Celestial Toymaker. So
although
Russell, some of us fans are researchers.
Yeah.
I mean, they did bring back the Great Intelligence.
Yes, they did.
Which also goes really far back. So
Does this mean that they have found the missing episodes of the Celestial Toymaker? Because they found the Great Intelligence, the Yeti one, right before the Great Intelligence was a big deal in the new series again. And Web of Fear, who was like, why am I blanking on the name of it?
I'm not going to put too much money on that, but I will put more money on Neil Patrick Harris playing the Celestial Toymaker.
Well, true. So. It would just be funny if they did, if that's what, I don't know.
They're like, oh, by the way, we found it, or we're doing an animated, whatever.
I'd take the animated one, but who knows?
Yeah.
That's exciting either way.
Yeah. So. And then a nice little, at least in my opinion, a bit of an homage to E.T. We get a nice little moment with Donna and Beat for Me. So.
It's like get wild around here.
I was so excited for Beep the Beep in live action. There is that. Like I said, David Tennant's gonna be very busy man. So, and then in the feeds, we've got the latest episode of Gold Standard with episode 76 with the 2003 Best Picture winner, The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, with special guest Charles Skaggs, who was the special winner that got his name in for this particular topic. As soon as we announced this podcast in the premise, Charles is like, I'm doing Lord of the Rings. So don't fret, because we have agreed that we will be covering the other two and probably the Hobbit films as well. Because as I know, as blasphemous as the Hobbit films are, at least, we still get Ian McKellen and Christopher Lee and Cate Blanchett.
Yep.
So,
I will say this about the Hobbit films. Executives were meddling.
Yeah.
There were a lot of behind the scenes shenanigans.
Couldn't keep fingers out of said pie.
Yes, too many cooks in the kitchen, as they say. So
yes.
Yeah. So if you're like, dang it, I missed my chance to talk about Middle Earth on Gold Standard, you have not. No. So your time may come. Stay tuned.
Yeah, I did claim 2 towers, so.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure.
Yeah. So, and surprisingly enough, while close, did not tie and or beat our longest episode.
Wow.
It was short by 11 minutes for tying.
Oh my goodness.
So it only needed to be 12 minutes longer to beat Terms of Endearment, but Terms of Endearment's still our longest episode at 5 hours.
So you needed an extended edition of Gold Standard.
And the thing is, we kept bringing up stuff from the extended edition because you can't help it.
How can you not?
Yeah. I mean, I watched the extended edition. I know Zan watched the extended edition. Charles watched the theatrical edition. Why, I do not know. He was pressed for time or something.
It happens.
So, but yeah, I was like, and I found myself several times just blathering on and on and on and on and on and on because these movies are amazing. So even with our blathering, still not our longest episode. So it's our second longest episode, but not. So
that is funny.
Yeah, that is. So. Should have put a few more drinking songs in there or something. There's that. Then we got a little bit of feedback from Shalane. Not at all related to last week's topic, but I don't blame her for that.
Yeah, I would have been surprised if anyone had sent us feedback on barbed wire.
Yeah.
I would have been like, wow.
Other than Nick's comment when I shared it on my personal Facebook, where I was like, thanks, Nick, in the most sarcastic way possible that you can in text form, and he's like, you're so welcome. So
oh goodness.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I had some other people that when I post the show after it's out in some other places as promotion, and a couple other people are like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Like, why did you review that one?
Yeah,
it wasn't my choice.
It wasn't my choice. Yeah. No option.
Yep. No. But Shalane does say one thing I wanted to say. Did you girls have a chance to hear? I'm assuming she meant hear and or see about the coronation of England's new king. Yes, I got up at 5 a.m. on coronation day to watch it. I even live streamed my reaction on my YouTube channel where I had like one person pop in for a hot second and I missed it because I was getting very drowsy by the time they got to the gloves of Rassilon, the scepter of Rassilon, The other scepter of Rassilon.
The holy hand grenade.
The holy hand grenade of Antioch. Exactly. Yeah. So it's like by the time they got to that, I'm like, okay, I'm getting it's like, it's Saturday morning. Why am I up? So
my bed is wondering where I am.
I was up. I watched the entire thing, but the minute that they got up and were walking back out and getting back into that damn carriage, I'm like, I'm going back to bed. Which I did, which means I missed the Inter Milan match that afternoon, but that's okay. So yeah, I watched it because it was one of those things where it's like, well, in this case, God willing, I live long enough, knock on wood, that this will not be the only coronation I see in my lifetime.
Yep.
Odds are, I'm gonna see at least William become king.
Yes.
And depending on how long I live, I might get to see George become king. So
that could be. Although I am like, I don't know, Charles. He's Charles. It's a thing. But when William and Kate are coronated, I'm gonna be like, hell yeah, here we are.
Yeah. So, but. Because it was a big to-do when Queen Elizabeth II was became queen on her coronation, because television was a new thing. So the fact that people got to watch it and not just have to listen to like the description on the radio, and now here it is 70 years later, and like I was watching a stream from ABC on YouTube. Like, I don't even need a TV. I just need an internet connection. So,
what times we are living in.
Mm-hmm. So it was just one of those things where it's like, this is not something that happens very often. So you kind of would be like, yeah, I saw it happen live.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the memes.
Yeah.
They were fun. Anyway.
Yeah, they kept bringing out different items to give to Charles. And I'm like, okay, Rassilon.
Yeah. Pretty much.
The times thou shalt count will be 3. No more, no less.
Yeah, that too. So, the holy hand grenade means have been quite fun.
Yes. I don't know, that one cracked me up the most.
Oh, then there was the meme going through stuff for the garage sale or cleaning out the clossets.
Like, oh yes, this has to go there too. It's been so long since we've had one of these. What do we need? I don't remember.
Here, sir, wear this hat. This fancy hat that only comes out for this occasion. You will never wear this hat ever again. No one has worn this hat in 70 years. And no one shall wear it again until your son gets it put on his head.
Yes.
So. Anyway, and then the rest of Shalane's feedback. Crissy, I think you were in Florida when The Dark Knight came out.
Yes, I was. I was busy.
Yep. Busy doing grown-up life stuff.
Yes, I was. It's like, yes, thank you for reminding me I wasn't going to bring it up.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yep. And that's all the feedback we have. So, moving on to this week's main topic, which is Crissy's Big Finish pick for her birthday.
Yes. Wednesday is my birthday. I'm not quite to 40, but getting closer.
Yeah.
But hey, I'll take birthdays. It means I'm not dead yet. So yeah. So as has become our tradition, when it's one of our birthdays, we choose a Big Finish to review. And my choice is a 5th Doctor and Nyssa audio called Creatures of Beauty. And I remembered this one being dark. Yeah. I did not remember how dark it got.
Based on the title, this is one where you can't really judge what it's going to be like based on its title, even based on the little synopsis that Big Finish gives us.
Yeah, or even like the cover, it's just kind of like it's the Doctor on one side, Nyssa on the other, and there's an estate and a bright light, and you're like, okay, stuff is happening. I don't know what, but here we go. And so this one is interesting in that the story is kind of told out of order. Although I did read on the wiki or somewhere I read that they recorded the story in order in sequential events, so it sounded like so the actors could like, oh, okay, now this makes sense, but like it starts and there's a big they're like the villain, quote unquote, the villain is being unmasked. And then you're like, what's going on? Like, did I put the wrong disc in? But I mean, I don't have a disc. I have a download, so they can't have. Like, is there something wrong with my file? Did I put it in wrong? And no, it just kind of just goes on, and it just kind of bops around from scene to scene, and you're kind of getting bits and pieces of the story until the very end, like the very end, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, because for a while there, I was struggling. Like, I recognized that it was being told non-chronologically.
Yeah,
which, if you've ever watched something like Mulholland Drive or Memento, something like that, where it's out of, it's kind of out of order. You can like clock that when it's presented to you, but then you realize you need to pay, you got to pay attention just a little bit more. But even with that, I was struggling a little bit to try to figure out, like, okay, who's the bad guy, who's the good guy, and it turns out there's not really a good guy or bad guy. It's just two races.
Circumstance.
Right. Yeah, it's two races that have come into this conflict through an incident that really neither of them are responsible for technically.
Right.
Which we find out because that's the kicker at the very end.
Oh yeah.
And really it's just been
told out of order.
Yeah, it's really just the two races are refusing to speak to each other. And the people on the planet, the Vals, are under the assumption that the co-teams are like trying to hurt them, but really they find out the co-teams are actually trying to help them.
Right.
The Doctor lets it slip, and we find out it's not going to matter. It's a moot point in the long term, but it's like it's not until really you get to that final act that stuff really starts to like gel together, and you're able to put all the pieces together and realize, okay,
that Richard Castle gif when somebody says something, this is like, wait,
yeah. And honestly, I mean, for a while, like, you're listening to it and they're like talking about beauty and all these things, and I'm like, is this like that Twilight Zone episode, Eye of the Beholder, where they're all, the lady goes in for surgery because she has this deformity, but you don't see her face till the end, and you find out that the doctors and the nurses are all pig people, and she looks like a human. And but because the pig people think she's ugly, they have to fix her face and everything. I was like, is that what the reveal is going to be? But I'm like, how would you do that reveal in audio?
Yeah,
honestly,
it's not so much that, it's more that like you're.
But it just keeps you guessing. I guess.
It's more the it really is like the Doctor says at one point to Nyssa, that it all really is a matter of perspective. Who's good, who's bad, who's beautiful, who's not. What are you doing, the right thing for the wrong reasons or the wrong thing for the right reasons? It's all a matter of perspective. And for these people, some they've been ravaged by you could really kind of equate this to like nuclear fallout. Because I mean, we covered the Chernobyl miniseries, and you saw what happened to people that had exposed to the radiation, what it does to them, and the same thing has happened to these Vals on this planet, and the ones that have been disfigured the most because of their exposure to this toxin are they're disfigured. But then you have people that don't look that bad, and those tend to be the people with the money. So
because they can afford to have it fixed, like have whatever their version of plastic surgery is,
which we find out so they cannot actually plastic surgery, but the people that don't have the means assume it's plastic surgery.
Correct.
So it's just it's like, oh, you've been able to have a procedure done, so you're not like falling apart like the rest of us. I imagine everyone's walking around kind of looking like the Crypt Keeper.
And then Nyssa gets caught because there was it's very much like those first Doctor stories. I think particularly of the Reign of Terror. Actually, there were a couple of those, like the historical ones that they land and they're in the middle of something, and the people are like, oh, here are these strangers. Well, they must be spies from the other side or something. And it's like, okay, this is where the psychic paper would come in handy about now.
Oh yes.
Or something like that, because they're like, look, we're just travelers, but they're like, well, where did you come from and how did you get here? There's like there's no ship, there's no this, and it's the TARDIS and everything. And so it's like they kind of took that trope that just kind of happened in those older stories and really used it in this story, like used it to because they assume Nyssa's an alien, which she is, but she's not the kind of aliens that they are looking for, that people are spying on them. And she's like totally confused because she just got here, she has no idea what's going on, but they don't know that. But they have no other explanation. So. Oh, it gets funky.
It does
as they go.
It really is. I saw a review on a website that well, here I'll pull it up. I have it open. It says the person says what stands out to me here is that the story is less about the plot and the actual events, and it is about provoking a reaction and making the listener think about the points it is making about morality, ethics, and cause and effect.
Although it's doing it in such a way that it's like not spelling out the issue, which I appreciate, because it could be easy to go like, well, this is the lesson and this is what you need to think, and I'm going to shake my finger at you naughty person, because you think this other way. So it's like, it's kind of like how old Star Trek was it's not telling you what to think, it's telling you how to think and how to put these pieces together and what happens when you jump to conclusions. And that's why I like that there's not really a good or a bad person, a bad, good guy, bad guy. They're two sides that won't talk to each other, and they won't listen, and they just and so, and like and you can just kind of hear it in the Doctor's voice. That's why I like it that it's a Fifth Doctor story, because he just gets so exasperated with people like this. He's just kind of like, oh, like, I'm gonna tear my hair out. And he's like, forget it, we're just leaving, it's too dangerous, Nyssa, let's go. And then what happens.
He's all like, several times he's like, we are not doing a very good job of communicating here. And I'm like, that is putting it mildly, Doctor. But when has communication ever really gone well with any Doctor Who adventure?
That is true. Like, if everybody sat down and talked to each other like rational adults, there would be no story. You've got to have somebody.
That's true.
You got to have somebody who's like, it's a conspiracy. You're all trying to kill us, and the Doctor is like, oh gosh. It's like, well, no wonder the Doctor has to resort to drastic measures, because that's the only way you'll ever listen.
Mm-hmm.
And every time he says, I don't want to do this, but it's like, what else is he going to do just to get your attention?
Yeah.
Which then it makes you think, oh, that is so stupid. But then again, you think, oh, humans, we do that too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, there's like the whole, there's two factions, there's two races in conflict with each other. I'm like, you could easily see that happening anywhere in space and time, and definitely with us crazy humans. So
let me introduce you to a little thing called Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah, so there are definitely some folks that aren't like the nicest, but I still wouldn't say they're like the villain, like the chief police officer or whatever, detective, whatever the hell his title is. He's definitely got it of like a chip on his shoulder.
Well, the way I imagine it's like the saying that when your job is to be a hammer and everything looks like a nail, it's like, yeah, you're that guy. That's your character. And like your job is to find the co-team spies under every rock. So of course you're gonna go look for them. And whether or not you actually find them, well, you're gonna find them.
Yeah. But at the same time, we find out again towards the very end that he does kind of have a chip on his shoulder, because it turns out his grandfather was a witness to the initial pollution event,
right?
That has doomed their planet. This kind of dumping of industrial waste in outer space.
They're just like, here, and they think they from their perspective it's an attack, because what are you supposed to think when a ship is dropping this stuff all over where you live, and you're like, oh no, they did this and it's horrible, and why would they do this, and we hate them and they're trying to attack us and we have no way of fighting back.
Right, because ships aren't supposed to be in their part of the galaxy anyway, so it's like, what purpose would a ship randomly being there if it wasn't malicious?
Right.
Is their opinion. Meanwhile, those involved are like, it's an accident,
Oopsie, we did that. We're sorry. Can we fix it, please? But they won't let them fix it because
they're being forced to bow to corporate pressures,
right?
Oh, because the company that's creating this toxic waste essentially is all like, yeah, just go dispose of it in uninhabited space somewhere, but make sure you go to that location and come back in the shortest distance possible. To save on fuel and manpower and all that stuff. So if you need to take a shortcut by a planet that might be inhabited, we're not going to frown upon that.
Right.
It is like, so I'm going to go on a little tangent here. I watch a lot of YouTube documentary type videos about, maritime disasters and ships and things. And and there's one channel I watch, it's Big Old Boats. It's been doing a lot about shipwrecks in the Great Lakes. And they talk about how the ships, like especially in the late, like in November when the weather's starting to get to where the lakes are just impassable.
Edmund Fitzgerald is one of them.
Yeah, Edmund Fitzgerald is one of them. There's a whole bunch. I just watched one. Crap, now I can't remember the name of it. But it's like, these companies were so like, no, you got to just get one more run in because the season's going to be over and we got to get that profit. And even though the captains are like, I'd rather not, because I've got, these men, my crew, I would like them to get home in one piece. But then they're like, no, we're going to take away your license or whatever it is that they take away. Like, you're not going to work for us. So it's like you choose between your job or, getting home alive.
Right.
So I hear this about this spaceship and I'm like, oh my gosh, really? We're doing this again? And it's like, well,
hello,
that is
history.
In reality. Yeah. And I'm sure you guys know about it because you live in that general area.
Yep.
So that's like part of your local history. This is all news to me. But it's like, wow, okay, that's kind of a dick move. But I just like, after it's like, the risk, it could happen. Why would you tell somebody that? It gets very frustrating. Yeah. I heard that part of the story, and I'm like, oh yeah, that happens.
That tracks.
Space travel, on the Great Lakes or the ocean. Yeah, like that makes sense. Do that, and then of course the people who are flying that, or whatever, piloting the ship are like, oh crap.
Yeah.
And they because they're there and they feel bad. They're the ones who have to deal with it.
Yeah. Because they're the ship, running the waste is trying to do the best they can.
Yeah.
And they're put in a situation where, because the corporation, these corporate overlords are putting the pressure on them.
Yeah.
They're cutting a few corners, but they're like, it'll be okay, until they find themselves in a situation where it's like, if we had not cut that corner, we wouldn't be where we are now.
Right. So, and it's like, what are you gonna do when you make that call and then you turn out, it was a wrong call, and of course they're trying to keep it hush hush and whatever, but eventually it's gonna get out. You think, and then people are gonna be pissed.
Like, boss, I told you this would be such a good idea.
In like every story ever, someone decides to do something that's not allowed, for lack of a better term. But they think it's okay because XYZ reason. In this case, it's an air, this planet is inhabited, but they're a very primitive society, so they don't have spaceships, and
they don't count.
So they're not going to be out there flying around, and they're not they're like the interstellar highway lanes are not open around them, so there's not supposed to be any space travel by them. So they're like, if we do this thing, because statistically we should be the only ship in the area, it'll be fine.
What could possibly go wrong?
Right.
I don't know. A ship that's has the ability to travel in time and space, materializing in the middle of where you are right there at that very minute, and colliding.
And it's already having navigational issues, and the Doctor's trying to fix it, and they end up not same story, different galaxy, pretty much, with the Doctor. Right.
Yeah, I do appreciate with Nyssa specifically, because coming from Traken, she was very educated, so she's very smart. So unlike most other companions, she actually will help navigate the TARDIS and do repairs and do like in checking for issues and diagnosing and stuff, because she gets it
with all these and with all these big Finnish stories that have been slotted in between Time Flight and Arc of Infinity. It's like, oh, Nyssa probably traveled with the Doctor the most, especially definitely the most out of all of the Fifth Doctor's companions. So she the idea is that her planet was destroyed, so she didn't really have anywhere else to go. So she was just like, because they talk about this a lot in some of whenever they have the interviews with the Fifth Doctor and the companions and things. They're like, yeah, Tegan just wanted to go to work, and Adric died. Sorry.
Yeah.
But he was always but Nyssa was just like, yeah, this is my home now, sort of a thing. And so of course she's gonna take the time to learn about the TARDIS and how to fly it.
Not every companion does, though.
That is true. Yeah, not every companion does.
Yeah. Even the ones that could possibly learn it, that they just don't bother. They just sit around watching the Doctor run around the console, pushing buttons and flipping levers. It's not. We don't see until. Yeah, it's not until we see with Tennant's Doctor when he's got everybody helping out, and you realize that to fly a TARDIS is really a multi-person job.
Yes.
So Nyssa and River
not you, Jackie.
are the only two that would know how to fly the TARDIS without the Doctor.
Yes. Oh, I think that's why I like these Doctor and Nyssa ones where it's just Nyssa, and I'm like, oh, I love you. You get to shine, or you get to TV stories. So I do like that, and it feels like she even in these situations she's a little more competent, even though when she's being interrogated, and even though she has no idea what's going on, but she knows how to talk to these people, and she knows kind of how to explain herself, even if they are just like, I don't know anything you're talking about, but okay, I guess I'll check your blood type against this other thing. And it's like, oh yes. So Nyssa, she's very quiet, very sweet, but she's also very smart, and she doesn't shy away from putting certain people in their place.
So, and her whole line when they're talking about as they're getting ready to leave in the TARDIS, and she's like, oh, when she's talking about how she got involved with the death of this woman, and she's like, oh, I should have just stayed inside the TARDIS. Like, we all know that's never gonna happen.
Right. No. I mean, honestly, anytime the TARDIS lands somewhere, really, you should just stay in the TARDIS. I mean, then again, seeing what's out there, but it's never just a day trip. Like, oh, I'm just gonna go look and see what's going on. Of course, you're gonna be in the middle of some kind of conflict.
Yeah, it's like, so what? Okay, so you stayed in the TARDIS, and that this poor woman who's just absolutely really just kind of having a psychotic break at this point because this procedure has gone bad. That it's like the minute you would have heard her screaming, you would have exited the TARDIS and been like, what's going on? How can I help?
This is true, especially with someone like Nyssa. She is just like, I need to help. Whatever's going on, I that is just in her nature to do some things, and for good or ill, and it's not her fault. Never is her fault. But it's just situation she finds herself in. It's just like this again. But then again, we wouldn't have a story if everyone just went on a picnic and picked daisies in the meadows.
Yeah. That is true. That is very true. So so what else? I mean, should we confront the plot twist?
Yeah, we better go over the plot twist. So spoiler if you haven't listened to this one.
It's a 20-year-old audio. We're fine.
Yes, I know, but I actually had forgotten about it. It's been a couple years before now since I've listened to it. And I was like, oh yeah, that's what happened. So remember we said that this is not told linearly? Mm-hmm. Well, basically, before they even land the TARDIS on the planet, the Doctor is, fiddling around with fixing this thingamabob or that doohickey on the TARDIS. So the TARDIS materializes not where the Doctor meant to be, but in front of the waste disposal ship that was out taking a shortcut. And it dumped out accidentally all its toxins onto the planet. And where it definitely did not intend to do that.
Yeah.
So it was an accident. But, like we said, it's not anybody's fault except the Doctor's and the TARDIS just being janky like it is.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't laugh because it's so tragic. It's one of those things that's like, oh no, what did you do? And then they kind of were all like, oh, we didn't really do anything on this planet, did we? Just like,
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Because Nyssa's all like, did we interfere or anything? And the Doctor's like, yeah, probably not. And we're like,
probably not.
Yeah.
But so they basically caused the inciting incident of this whole thing.
And they are none the wiser.
Nope.
No.
I mean, it's such a subtle thing. And like I said, you need to be paying like extra attention because this is told non-linearly.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get like the different voiceovers kind of repeating some of the stuff that we had already heard, kind of like, okay, now here's, if you haven't really been paying attention, here's the bit that you really need to, hone in on. Hone in on. Right. And we realized that when the TARDIS was having issues and he and Nyssa were trying to fix it, he was like, well, we'll just materialize here in outer space where there shouldn't be any traffic.
And which is exactly what the ship thought. There's nobody here.
Which is exactly what the dump ship thought. Is like, well, we'll cut through here because there shouldn't be any traffic. And all of a sudden the TARDIS materializes. All of a sudden it becomes rush hour at 5 in the afternoon. Yeah. And so they have to do like evasive maneuvers to avoid hitting the TARDIS. Whoops. And that causes the industrial waste to get loose so that it ends up in the atmosphere of this poor planet. And the Doctor's like just puttering along. He's like, well, we'll just drift forward a few hundred years and then we'll land on the planet and see what we can do. And he's like, the TARDIS can repair herself. Meanwhile, they are completely clueless that they materialize in front of this giant ship full of industrial waste and just caused when
the Doctor gets neck deep in a project, he's just oblivious to everything else going on around.
Well, I mean, if they had actually collided, obviously he would have noticed, but the fact that they avoided collision, and it's not like the TARDIS has any windows.
Right.
That's true. And they probably didn't have the view screen on.
Yeah.
Right.
So
or the detection system, like, hey, you're too close to something.
I mean, because at that point the TARDIS was going a little haywire, so would have the proximity alert gone off anyway?
Good point.
To say. So,
or is this one of those special, certain fixed point in time things, so that no matter what.
And that's the thing too, is it's like, is this a bootstrap paradox thing where, that this accident was always going to happen and devastate this planet because it's been 4 generations from the time the accident happened to when the Doctor and Nyssa properly land on the planet.
Right.
And you've got the species that feels terrible about the accident trying to help, thinking that maybe they could save this other species from complete, extinction, and we find out the doctors is like, no, they're completely extinct, and really it's what's the legal term? Is it not accidental, but
collateral damage?
Well, yeah, it's collateral damage, but when it's like when you kill someone,
negligence. Negligence.
Well, it could be. It could be like negligent homicide, or unintentional homicide, or accidental homicide, where it's not premeditated at all. And here the doctor is like unintentional genocide.
Yeah,
because an entire planet of people is going to be completely extinct in a couple more generations. So it's like, and the doctor is completely oblivious to
right.
So it's like,
so I mean,
like, doctor, you felt guilty because you thought you killed your own people,
or manslaughter. Would that be the word we're looking for?
Yeah,
maybe.
No, because there's a legal term where you but you didn't mean to do it,
right? Because I'm looking up definition of manslaughter.
Yeah, you might be careful googling that.
Yeah, no kidding.
Any lawyers in the audience, send us some feedback and tell us what we're supposed to call this.
Yeah. I haven't watched Law and Order in years.
But accidentally or inadvertently killed someone as a result of negligent, careless, or dangerous behavior. So who knows?
Yeah,
there's a gray area. Big gray area.
Yeah. I mean, they talk a lot about like, the doctor causes all these genocides. He kills the Daleks umpteen number of times, or all these others because they don't listen to him. Well, here he did this one accidentally and without really realizing that he did it.
Yeah. Like, and the thing is it just in general, the doctor is aware that sometimes their meddling does have unintended outcomes, not necessarily consequences, because that has a bit of a negative connotation to it, although sometimes it is consequences, but unintentional outcomes. Going back to the audio that we reviewed for my birthday, and I just did on Next Up Everywhere, Trial of the Valeyard, when the doctor first thinks that he's on trial again, and he rants off to the Inquisitor, and he's like, yes, I stole a TARDIS, I ran away, yes, I get involved in the affairs of other planets, and sometimes it has unintended outcomes. So it's like the doctor is well aware that sometimes stuff happens that they never meant to happen.
Right.
Sometimes it's good, though, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it may be kind of neutral and just let the universe sort it out.
Wrong place, wrong time.
Exactly. So it's like, that's the thing, is you just, it's almost, this is almost like, is it a bootstrap paradox combined with like the butterfly effect? Yeah.
Good question.
Because the doctor has influenced something and not realize the effects of it, because that's the thing with the butterfly effect, is it's one minor change, sometimes it's a minor change, sometimes it's a major change down the line can have a bigger, I mean, that's the whole premise of Everything Everywhere All at Once. So and
Doctor Who has done, like, Turn Left, the Donna episode, where you decide to turn one way instead of another, and everything changes. So it's just one of those things. It's like, man, I would love just to see, someday, maybe, in the eternities or whatever, like, I just want to see, like, how did all these things happen, and what were the causes, and what were the little things that they could have. It's kind of why the multiverse thing just sort of, it intrigues me, and it also gives me a headache. I was like, I just want to know. I want to see all the causes and effects and how this happened, but right now my tiny human brain just can't comprehend it. But oh, that would be so fun. The historian in me would just love to just look at something like that.
Yeah.
It's probably impossible, but geez, I want to know.
Yeah.
Although maybe I don't. Maybe it would drive me nuts.
Yeah. Maybe. But so anyway. Yeah, it's just like a, as my poor little human brain was finally piecing stuff together. And then we get the little voiceovers. You get the police chief or whatever talking about his grandfather, witnessed the sky turning green because of this, essentially radiation. And how at the time, because they did not realize what it meant, his grandfather described it as beautiful, like the sky being painted by, and you also get the reminder of what the one disembodied voice had been telling the Doctor and Nyssa about how the accident happened in the first place. And it brings everything together, and then you just hear the Doctor like, I don't think we had any influence on this at all. And I'm like, oh my god.
It's like,
my brain sort of broke there for a second, like, oh my goodness. Okay.
Even the great and powerful, marvelous Time Lords still miss things. Sometimes as much as the Doctor, bless his heart, talks about how smart he is and how wonderful he is, and how
they're usually the smartest person in the room.
Yeah, he's the smartest person in the room, and humans are like, oh, you're just so sweet and cute, but and other Time Lords, I mean, compared to other Time Lords, the Doctor is downright humble.
Right.
You guys still miss stuff. I just love that somebody could come up with a story like this, and I think, is it Nicholas Briggs who wrote this one?
It's Nicholas Briggs.
Which is just like, man, he writes some
not too surprising.
No, and it's like he just can keep. I mean, I'm sure, like I said, that they recorded the story in order so that it's and then they edited it together so it was out of order with the whole or for the the whole whatever thing. But it's like, how do you come up with this idea to do that and still make it make sense? Because I mean, I could, like I said, if you start this and you think, oh, did my download get messed up, or did I get the wrong thing? But then you just keep listening, because and I don't know, maybe some people would stop and think, like, I can't listen to this. This doesn't work for me. But I think a lot of people because I have heard this one reviewed by other people, and they just keep going because it's just so compelling. It's like something that could just be looked at as a mistake, or this is just too intense or too esoteric for me, but you still keep listening and you still want to know what happens or what's going on even. So, kudos 20 years ago, because this came out in 2003, which is baffling. Drives me. It's just insane to me, because that's when I graduated high school. 2003 is 20 years ago, but Nicholas Briggs, hats off to you, my friend. We are not worthy.
Yeah.
But thank you for writing.
I wonder what it was like for like the people that were like actively subscribed to like Big Finish at the time. Because they would have gotten this one. And the audio before this one is Doctor Who and the Pirates.
Oh boy.
Oh, that's right. Ooh. I remember that when I was flipping through and deciding what I wanted to do. I was like, that's right. It's Doctor Who and the Pirates. Both good, just in different ways.
Yeah. I mean, they both end up having kind of like plot twists where you're like, oh.
Yeah. Did not see that coming.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, could you imagine like listening to Doctor Who the Pirates and hearing Colin Baker do his best rendition of, the Gallifreyan version of, very modern marvel of a, Pirates and Pen Dance.
That one.
And then you get this
tongue twister.
And then to get like this in the mail.
Yeah.
Like, the next month and be like, what the heck?
Yeah.
It's like, what are they doing over there at Big Finish?
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't expecting a tragedy.
Yeah. Keep in mind, this is before the new series was released, so it was sort of like, hey, this is what we have, so here we go. We will enjoy it.
Well, and then the audio after this one is Project Lazarus.
Oh my gosh, yeah, there's a stretch in here where it just gets
bonkers.
Yes.
We're gonna do singing pirates, and then we're gonna do planetary genocide via nuclear, toxic waste, and then vampires.
Yeah, which was not anyone's fault, but yeah, they went through an interesting stretch here with Big Finish.
They had a dark phase going on after that.
I guess like Nicholas Briggs was feeling very goth at the time, or what?
I guess it's like, well, I hope you all enjoyed the silly pirate one, because now we're gonna get we're gonna go there.
Yeah.
I was surprised you didn't try to go a Call of Cthulhu route. Down the line.
Who knows?
Hey.
They probably have at some point. We just haven't gotten to it.
True.
Yeah, I feel like there's probably some of that in there. Just gotta figure it out where it is. But anyway, no, it's still a good time. It's just some of the
I mean, it's great acting for Peter Davison and Sarah Sutton.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I feel like the Fifth Doctor and Nyssa ones are kind of these hidden gems because they don't get talked about, or I don't feel like they get talked about as much when you talk about Big Finish. Just because people are like, oh, Nyssa, she's kind of she was the quiet one. I mean, Tegan was the loud mouth, and Adric was Adric, and Turlo was the
Turlo,
the little ginger prick.
Yeah.
That tried to kill the Doctor. But
sorry, Mark.
We love you, Mark.
It's not anything to you. It just shows how good of an actor you are.
Yes.
Mark Christian is a gentleman and a scholar. He is a delight. Yeah. His character could. I mean, Turlo got better. He did try to kill the Doctor on his first few stories. So. But then
he didn't know any better. The Black Guardian was just like, "Hey, do this thing," and he was like, "Okay."
Yeah. But Nyssa was just kind of background, window dressing. Basically, that's why Sarah Sutton eventually left. She's like, "There's no reason for me to be here." But then Big Finish comes in and it's like, "Well, here we will give you a reason for your character to be here," and it's just it's so lovely. So. I recommend these stories, even if sometimes the writing is a little not as good as it could be with especially some of the earlier ones, but just for the dynamic of the Doctor and Nyssa is good. It's fun, and it's good for them to have some back and forth, just the two of them. Yeah. If you just look.
This is definitely good writing.
Oh yeah.
No, I mean that you have to know what you're doing to be able to write something like this and pull it off in audio.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's hard enough to do the nonlinear thing in a TV show or movie where you can have visual clues.
Yeah,
and stuff. This where you're relying completely on audio. It's just it's wild. So again, Nicholas Briggs' goth phase.
Yeah,
has some winners. So, and this is early Big Finish, so it's if you don't own this one, it's on the cheaper side. So with the I think with the exchange rate via PayPal, and I paid for it, it was like $3.90 something.
Which isn't bad for a Big Finish audio at all.
No, it's not. So it's I didn't check to see if it was on Spotify or anything like that, but it's there.
It's definitely available through Big Finish. So
yeah,
and it's cheap.
Yep, I did that on purpose. So it's like, if people want to go listen to it, you can do so without breaking the bank.
Well, that's some hidden gems in there. So because it's like you said, it's early Big Finish. They're trying to find. They're finding their legs, and they at that time they had no idea that Doctor Who was eventually going to be back on TV. So they kind of could just do whatever the hell they wanted, and so they could experiment with different types of storytelling.
This is definitely this time period between this and some of the novels have some interesting storylines to them, because they're just like, it's not on TV, so we're just gonna go nuts, and whatever works will work. So anyway, recommended. Give it a try if you feel so inclined. But very, very interesting time to be listening to Big Finish.
And if any of our listeners, if you happen to be someone who was subscribed to Big Finish at this time, and you were one of those people that got Doctor and the Pirates in the mail and then this the following month, please let us know what that experience was like.
Yes, we would love to know.
Because that actually sounds kind of funny. Anyway, well, on that note, if you do want to send in some feedback on any of our topics that we've covered between here and there and everywhere, you can send in feedback at fiveishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also leave comments on our social media and on our website, which is thefivishfangirls.com. We'll treat comments and things on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram as feedback as well. I think I said that. I don't know. I'm flustered. It's the end of a Monday. But
you're just turning a year older. It's okay.
I
FYI,
know.
Creatures of Beauty is on Spotify.
Well, there you go. It is available on Spotify. So there we go. Holly has spoken. So try that out. So the website, thefivishfangirls.com. You can also you subscribe to the podcast wherever you find podcasts, and you can also support the podcast through Patreon and our merch shop and some other things we have on our website. And of course, as always, we thank you for listening, and hope you all are doing well out there, and just keep at it, whatever it is you're doing. Hope you're doing well. We'll see you around, and just watch where you're driving.
Yeah.
Especially if you're fixing your car in the middle of space.
All right. Well, with that, we shall sign off for this week.
This is Crissy saying goodnight from Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Like paint spilling across the table, he said it was almost beautiful. Thank you for listening to the Fiveish Fangirls. Please visit thefivishfangirls.com for details on how to further support the show, along with information on our nonprofit, Fangirls Give Back. We love our Fiveish fam,
and appreciate all of your feedback, shares, and encouragement. Remember to keep letting your geek flag fly.